Today we're going to conduct a pre-trip inspection on a Class A combination vehicle. To start your pre-trip, the first thing you'll do is you'll go over your exterior lights. You'll start at the front, left turn signal, right turn signal, four-way flashers, high beams, low beams, and clearance lights. We're just checking to see if they work. Next, you're going to go to the rear of the tractor. You're going to check your brake lights, your tail lights, your left turn signal, your right turn signal, and your four-way flashers. If you have any clearance lights on the back of your truck, you can check those as well. Rear of the trailer, brake lights, tail lights, left turn signal, right turn signal, four-way flashers, and clearance lights around the top. We're going to do our air supply system check. To begin the air supply system check, first we're going to do is we're going to chock the vehicle. We're going to put the vehicle in gear so we do not roll away. Next, what we're going to do, we're going to turn our key on so we can watch our gauges while we do this. I'm going to push in my trailer and my tractor valves. I'm going to tell the tester I am at, let's wait for it to fill up real quick. Okay, the system has filled up. I am at 100 psi. So the first test is the air leakage test. We are in a combination vehicle. We do not want to lose more than 4 psi. If this was just a single vehicle, it would be 3 psi. So I'm going to tell the tester, I'm going to hold down the brake. I will not lose more than 4 psi in 1 minute. So hold down the brake. For video purposes, I'm just going to say we have held the brake down for 1 minute. And I have not lost more than 4 psi. I am still at 100 psi. Next, I'm going to let go of the brake. My key is still on. I'm going to fan the brakes down, and at 60 psi or above, my low air warning light or buzzer will come on. Fan the brakes. My low air warning light and buzzer have both come on. The last one is the tractor protection valve and trailer valve will pop out between 20 and 45 psi. And go ahead and fan the brakes. And it's about pretty much exactly 25 psi. My tractor protection valve and trailer valve have both popped out. I'll go ahead and turn the key off now. Stop the buzzer, and that includes your 3 air checks. So we've just completed our 3 air checks, and we're moving on to the in-cab. First thing we're going to do, the vehicle's in neutral. We're going to do a safety start. We're going to go ahead and turn the key over. And we're going to go ahead and start the vehicle. Our brakes are out. And just for video purposes, I won't start the vehicle, but we push the clutch in, start the vehicle. First thing we want to do is check our lights on the dash. ABS light comes on and goes off. Oil temperature is at safe operating range or is rising to safe operating range. Temperature gauge is at safe operating range or is rising to safe operating range. And our amp meter is at safe operating range. Next, we're going to check our indicator lights, our left indicator light, our right indicator light, our high beams, and our four-way flashers. After that, we're just going to go ahead and start over on the left side. We'll grab our seatbelt. Our seatbelt latches properly. It is securely mounted to the floor with no loose or missing parts or broken parts. And the seatbelt itself is not torn or frayed, and it is adjusted properly for me. And go ahead and take it off. Our mirror and our mirror bracket. Our bracket is securely mounted with no loose or missing parts or fittings. The mirror itself is securely mounted. It is not cracked, broken, or damaged, and there is no obstructions of view. Our window, we could bring the window up also to check. The window is securely mounted. It is not cracked, damaged, or broken, and there is no obstructions of view. Our windshield is also securely mounted. It is not cracked, damaged, or broken, and no obstructions of view. Our wipers, securely mounted with no loose or missing nuts and bolts, and our wiper blades are not damaged, and then we would demonstrate that the wiper blades have fluid in them. We go ahead and come down to our heater and defroster. Heater and defroster both work. We want to turn both of those on and test those. Next, our emergency equipment. I have a B10 rated fire extinguisher, securely mounted to the floor and is fully charged. 3 reflective triangles behind my seat. In the glove box, I have spare electrical fuses. If not, I would tell the tester that this truck runs off of circuits. Next we want to do is our brake test. To do our brake test, vehicle's in neutral. Now, it is running. We're simulating it still running. And we have built it all the way up to our air pressure. So our air pressure cutout is 120 to 140 psi. And make sure you tell the tester when you hear the air pressure cut out, the governor turn on. So we've completed our air pressure. We're all the way up. It cuts out at 120. We'll just say that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to test my tractor brake. So we're going to go ahead and push in the clutch. We're going to put it in gear. I'm going to push in the trailer brake and I'm going to pull forward on the tractor. Tractor brake works. Next, you're going to swap them out. We're going to go ahead and push in the tractor brake and pull out the trailer brake. We're going to pull forward and the trailer brake works. And the last one, what we're going to do is we're going to check our service brake. So go ahead, we're going to push both of them in. We're going to push in the clutch, it's in gear, and we're going to push. We're going to move forward. You just move forward like about 2 or 3 feet. Moving forward and then push on the service brake. And the service brake works. We can stop right there. Pull both our parking brakes. Make sure you put your brakes back on. If you get out of the vehicle without the brakes on, you have failed the test. And we can go ahead and turn off the vehicle. So we've just completed our air brake check and our in-cab inspection, and now we're outside the vehicle. First thing we want to do is we're going to come to the front. Before we open the hood, we're going to check all of our lights to get those out of the way. Our lights, securely mounted, they're not cracked, damaged, or broken, and they're not missing, and they're the right color for their location and function. There's amber on the sides. Clearance lights, securely mounted, not cracked, damaged, or broken. They're not missing, and they're the right color for their location and function, which is amber. Next, we're going to move to the side of the vehicle. The lights are securely mounted. They are not missing. They are not cracked or damaged. They're the right color for their function and location. And I will continue that all the way down the truck, the same thing. Rear of tractor, lights securely mounted, not cracked, damaged, or broken. And they're the right color for their location, which is red on the back. Reflective tape is securely affixed and it is clean. Rear of the trailer, we will check the lights. The lights are securely mounted. They are not cracked, damaged, or broken. They're the right color for their location and function. Check reflective tape, securely mounted to the vehicle, and it is clean. You could also say affixed to the vehicle. Reflective tape also alongside the vehicle is securely affixed to the vehicle, and if there's any lights or reflectors on the side, they're securely mounted. They're not cracked, damaged, or broken, and they are not missing. Under the cab inspection, first thing, we're going to check underneath. We're going to make sure there's no oil, coolant, or fuel leaks, not gas, fuel leaks, under the vehicle. Next, we're going to check the dipstick. You don't have to pull the dipstick out. All you would was tell the examiner to check the oil level. I would pull the dipstick out, I would wipe it off, put it back in, pull it out, and make sure it is in safe operating range. Coolant sight glass or if it doesn't have a sight glass and you can see right through, all you got to do is tell the examiner that you're in safe operating range. Next, we're going to check the alternator. The alternator is securely mounted with no loose or missing nuts and bolts. The wires on the alternator are not exposed, they are not broken or burnt. The alternator is belt driven. The belt is not frayed or shows signs of excessive wear. It is not cracked or shows signs of loose fibers. The belt, when pulled from center, does not deflect more than 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. If this was gear driven, I would say is not damaged and operates properly. Identify the water pump. Check that the water pump is securely mounted with no loose or missing bolts. Identify if the water pump is belt or gear driven. If belt driven, identify that the belt is not cracked, show signs of excessive wear, not frayed or show signs of loose fibers. Check the tension on the belt. Does not deflect more than 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch when pulled from center. And if it's gear driven, operates properly, is not damaged. Air compressor is securely mounted with no loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is not cracked or damaged. I do not hear any leaks coming from the air compressor. It is gear driven, operates properly. If belt driven, you just talk about the belt. The belt is not torn or frayed or shows signs of loose fibers and does not show any signs of excessive wear. Power steering box is securely mounted with no loose or missing nuts and bolts and is securely mounted to the frame. It is not cracked, damaged, or broken, and it is not leaking any fluids. Power steering hoses and clamps. There is no cuts, bumps, bulges, or abrasions to any of the hoses, and they are not leaking. Hoses and clamps. We're going to check the hoses and clamps, make sure they're all tight. There is no cuts, bumps, bulges, or abrasions from rubbing against other parts on any of the hoses and clamps, and they are not leaking. Steering linkage. We're going to check that the connecting links, arms, and rods from the steering box to the wheel are not excessively worn or cracked. Check that the joints and sockets are not excessively worn or loose, missing nuts, bolts, and or cotter keys. Next thing we're going to check is the front tire. We're going to check that the tire tread depth is at least 4/32 of an inch on the steers and that the tread is evenly worn. We're going to check for any signs of tread separation on the side, and we're going to check for cuts, bumps, or abrasions to the sidewall. Next thing we want to do is we want to check the rim. We want to check for dents or damage to the bead flange. We want to check that there's no visible cracks or welding repairs. The next we want to check the lug nuts. Check for loose or missing lug nuts. Check that the lug nuts show no signs of being loose, such as rust trails or shiny threads, and check for cracks radiating from the lug nut holes or distortions of the bolt holes. Next thing we want to check is the hub oil seal or axle seal. We want to check that the hub oil seal greases and axle seals are not leaking. If the wheel has a sight glass or removable seal, we want to check the oil or grease is in proper level. We want to check that the valve stem is not missing, broken, or damaged. We want to check for proper inflation by using a tire gauge. Next we're going to go to is the front suspension. We're going to check the springs. We're going to make sure the leaf springs are not missing, shifted, cracked, or broken. And if they're equipped, we're going to check for broken or distorted coil springs. We're going to check the shock absorber right there. Securely mounted with no loose or missing nuts and bolts and is not leaking. We're going to check the spring mounts right over here. We're going to check for cracked or broken spring hangers. We're going to check for missing or damaged bushings. We're going to check that the spring attachments are securely mounted with no loose bolts or brackets. Next, we're going to go to the U-bolts. We're going to check for cracked or broken U-bolts. We're going to check for loose or missing U-bolts. First thing on our front brakes, so we're just going to follow it in. We're going to check our hoses and lines. We're going to check that the hoses and lines are not leaking, cracked or worn, bulges, or show signs of abrasive damage from rubbing against other parts. And we're just come right into our brake chamber. We're going to check that the brake chambers have no cracks or dents, are securely mounted with no loose or missing nuts and bolts, have no loose or missing clamps, or not leaking. From the brake chamber and clamp, we're going to go right up to the slack adjuster and push rod. We're going to check that the slack adjuster and push rod are securely mounted with no loose or missing nuts and bolts. We're going to check that the slack adjuster and push rods are not bent or broken and have no loose or missing parts. That the slack adjuster would not pull out more than 1 inch with brakes applied. Brakes and drums, or if you have rotors, we're going to check that the brakes, drums, or rotors are not cracked. Grooves or holes, we're going to check for loose or missing bolts. We're going to check that there is no signs of oil or grease on the brake drums or linings. Brake linings, at least, go ahead and look down there, at least 1/2 inch on the brake linings with no loose or missing parts, are not cracked or broken, show no signs of oil or grease on the brake lining. We've just completed our underneath the hood inspection, and we are going to go ahead and move on to the side of the cab. We're going to go ahead, we're going to check the door, the mirror bracket, the mirror, and the window. The mirror bracket securely mounted with no loose fittings or any loose or missing nuts and bolts. The mirror itself is adjusted properly for me, and it is not cracked, damaged, or broken, and no obstructions of view. The glass itself, we want to roll up and down. The glass is tight, it is not cracked, damaged, or broken. Last thing, we're going to open the door. We're going to check the door. The door seals. The door seals are intact, and the door hinges are intact. They are not cracked, damaged, or broken. And the door closes and opens properly. Next, we're going to do our fuel tank and our cap. Our cap is tight. There's no leaks. The straps on the tank are securely mounted. There's no loose or missing parts. And there is no leaks from one tank to the other tank. Next thing is we're going to check our drive shaft is not bent or cracked, is securely mounted with no loose nuts, bolts, or shaft couplings, and couplings are free of foreign objects. We're going to check the exhaust system. We're going to check that the exhaust system is securely mounted and is tightly connected with no loose or missing nuts, bolts, clamps, or mounting brackets. We're going to check for cracks, holes, or severe dents. We're going to check for any signs of exhaust leaks such as rust trails or carbon soot. For the catwalk, you want to make sure the catwalk is solid. It's securely mounted to the vehicle frame with no loose or missing nuts and bolts. It's clear of any objects. We're going to check that the storage area is solid and secure, and that the cargo in the secure area is securely mounted. And we also want to check our steps to make sure those are all securely mounted with no loose or missing nuts and bolts. For our air lines and electric connections, we're going to check for air leaks. We're going to check that the hoses and fittings on the rear of the tractor for signs of damage. We're going to check the condition of the hoses and the electrical line insulation is not cracked, cut or spliced, shifted or excessively worn, and their steel braid should not show through. We're going to check that the air and electrical lines are not pinched, dragging against other parts of the truck or the tractor parts. If not permanently mounted, we're going to check that the electrical plug is firmly seated and locked in place on the tractor. So we're at the rear of the tractor. Rear of the tractor, I'm going to do method 2. Method 2 makes this pre-trip really simple. I'm just going to go ahead and start with the tire. I would check the tire, the rim and flange, the lug nuts, and the axle seal, same as I would on the front. Next, you'd move on to brakes. I would check, we want to make sure we're showing that we're looking. I would check the brake lines, the chamber and clamps, the slack adjuster and push rod, the brake linings and drums, the same as I would on the front. I would check the suspension, the leaf springs, U-bolts, and the hangers, same as I would on the front, except for that this has airbags and airbag hangers, and the airbags are not leaking they're not damaged. There's no cuts, bumps, bulges, or abrasions, no signs of wear from rubbing against other parts. And the mount for the airbags is securely mounted with no loose missing nuts and bolts, and it is not cracked or damaged. One more thing to check on the rear suspension also is the torque arm, the radius arm. We want to check that the torque arms, the torsion bars, and or any other type of suspension stabilizer parts are not cracked or broken, securely mounted with no loose or missing bolts or mounting parts. We're going to check the fifth wheel coupling system. We're going to check mounting bolts. We're going to check for loose or missing bolts or brackets or nuts. We're going to check that the fifth wheel and slide mounts are securely mounted if it has a slide mount. The platform, we're going to check for cracks or broken or breaks on the platform base, that the support and the fifth wheel skid plate. We're going to check the locking lever and jaws, which jaws would be on the inside. We're going to check that the locking jaws are fully closed around the shank of the kingpin, the release arm, and locking safety latch. We're going to check that the release arm is secure and is in the lock position. Fifth wheel skid plate, we're going to check it is properly lubricated, securely mounted to the platform with no loose bolts or pins. If this was a sliding fifth wheel, we'd want to check the sliding fifth wheel has no loose or missing pins in the slide mechanism. We're going to check that the locking pins are fully engaged. We're going to check that the fifth wheel is positioned properly so the tractor frame or mud flaps and brackets will clear the landing gear during turns. And if it's air powered, we just want to check for air leaks. For underneath the tractor, we want to check the kingpin. We want to explain that the locking jaws hold the kingpin in place and that the kingpin is not bent or damaged. We want to check the visible part of the apron, not bent, cracked, or broken, and we want to make sure that there's no gap and that the trailer is laying flat on the fifth wheel. We'd also want to check our mud flaps. They're not excessively worn or torn and hang down at least to the center of the axle. And they're securely mounted with no loose or missing nuts and bolts. Next we want to do is we want to check the landing gear is fully raised. There's no missing parts. The crank handle is secure. Support frame has no damage, such as cracks, broken welds, missing nuts, bolts, or damage to the landing pads. If power operated, check for air or hydraulic leaks. We also want to check the frame. We want to check for cracks or bends in the longitude frame members, and we want to check for damage such as loose, cracked, bent, broken, or missing cross members, and check for damage to the trailer floor. For the trailer header board, we want to check that the header board and the front end structure is securely mounted, such as loose or missing bolts, mounting brackets, or broken welds. If it's an enclosed trailer, we want to check for front area of signs of damage, such as cracks, bulges, holes, or missing rivets. Rear of trailer, method 2. We're going to start with suspension. We're going to go to the springs, spring hangers, the U-bolts. This has airbags on the rear. Airbags, airbag mounts, and torsion bar. I would check same as rear of tractor. Tire, rim and flange, lug nuts, an axle, and oil seal. I would check same as rear of tractor. One thing I did forget on rear of tractor, which isn't the same on the front, is our spacing between the tires. We want to make sure there is nothing lodged in between the dualies and the spacing is even. And I should go back and redo the rear of the tractor and tell the tester what I just said here for dualies. Next, the brakes. We'll just start at the brake lines, chamber and clamps, push rod, slack adjuster, brake linings and drums. I would check same as rear of tractor. It's method 2. Very simple. Rear of trailer, we want to check that the cargo doors and hinges are not damaged, open and closes, and securely latched. This has a lift gate That's why you want to check that it is not leaking, has no damage or missing parts, is fully retracted and securely mounted, and we want to explain how the liftgate is correctly operated. We also have mud flaps, same as front, are not excessively worn or torn, hang down to at least the center of the axle, are securely mounted with no loose or missing nuts and bolts. That concludes our pre-trip on a Class A vehicle.